or big pain issues, there's a lot of things that we can do at home, and that's what I do in my private practice as well, just helping people um, with this pain and how to manage it before maybe you have to go into surgery or before you're looking at some more drastic options. So a lot of times I feel that we do not get this information enough. I always say, maybe I shared that with you before, if we talk about healing, we should not use the word alternative healing when it comes to doing yoga or stretching or going to get a massage or going to the chiropractor. We should actually call that healing because that's the oldest way and the oldest form of taking care of ourselves in the world. And then the next thing, if you can't get through or you can't find out where the trigger point is or where your pain comes from, then maybe the next step is to go to the doctor. And maybe you have to have something more done. And maybe you already had that in the past. I also always want to point out that try to find some of these solutions or reach out, because after post-surgery, a lot of people will also just go home and not really get through the physical therapy. And sometimes or often, it's not really recommended by the doctors either that you are, they just don't give you that option to start working with stretching and with posture correction through your pain, even post-surgery. So that is, and then one thing stacks up and another thing stacks up. So to start with understanding that, I'm going to go simple. I like, my approach is always simple, and it has to be effective so that you have some small results. And for me, it helps tremendously. Sometimes I work out too much. And that happens too because, I'm teaching and I'm working with people, and that's not good either, too much. And then I feel it, and I'll show you some of the solutions that I'll do at home. So I'm going to open my share screen. I'm going to open my slideshow with you, and hopefully you are enjoying this slideshow as well about pain management. So I'm going to try to find out where it is. Here we are. And I'm going to open that and share that with you and start on the top page, just going all the way up. Whoop. Can you see this? Yeah. Yeah, good.
Yes.
So we're having the 5 most common chronic pain issues that we're talking about. And please share this if you know it also with somebody else that can benefit from it. So how can we manage this at home? There's 2 types of pain. We have the acute pain and we have the chronic pain. And the chronic pain really resolves or exists over time, right? Acute pain is just when you step on something or, you're hurting your finger or you walk into something. But the chronic pain is something that has to do with our system and that is even getting a little worse over time. We already know that our pain receptors are sometimes just really stacking up what we're feeling, but because they're stacking it up, because we feel that pain, it even becomes more in our mind, and then so also in our body. What I talk a lot about the mind-body connection, right? So our brain tells us, "Oh my gosh, it hurts so bad," and then we're going to immediately react to that physically. So I have some stats here. I need to move you over a little bit. 80% of seniors have a chronic health condition and 68% have 2 or more. So I hope that you get a little bit of tip out of this today. So there's definitely, we can maximize health and the quality of life by managing these symptoms. And I hope to give you a little home remedies for that. And then if you have an acute flare-up, the pain is of course temporary, that, and acute pain appears suddenly. It's just, like I said, we step on something, we hit ourselves, we are having a needle that we stab ourselves with, that pain goes away. The chronic pain from ongoing issues or an injury that didn't heal or a posture problem, or like I said, a lot of spinal problems, right? We have the scoliosis, the kyphosis is a lot of people, kyphosis, kyphosis. A lot of people deal with that. And so that can last a long time. If we're living with constant pain, then we can definitely help ourselves. And one of the things that we can do for ourselves is that the chronic pain, of course, it can compress on a lot of the spine, on the discs and the nerves. And that way it creates damage. And with my former pain management presentations, I do talk a lot about that. And that also comes a lot from sitting, correct? So we have talked about that. And we have neuroplastic pain when we have the nervous system kind of adapting to being in that pain. And a neuroplastic pain happens when the changes occur in your nervous system that affect how you process and experience the sensation of pain over time. So it gets only bigger and bigger and bigger because also our brain tells us, oh my gosh, it's there all the time. So now I really have to deal with this. While maybe we could have done something to intervene, but we didn't know what that was. So the pain receptors are becoming more sensitive over time, and the spinal cord becomes more responsive, of course, because it runs straight through our back, right, all the way down. So we're going to see a lot of that. This is the most fun thing, the number one. I talk about LBP a lot, that is lower back pain, but in general, back pain is the number one. 80% of adults have experienced back pain at least once, and 50% of working Americans have one or more flare-ups a year. Back pain is one of the main reasons why people miss work. And we have done this in the past, the other presentation where I have all these numbers about how much it costs, even an employer, how much it costs a business in cost to let that employee go. And maybe everybody should offer a little bit of stretch for lunchtime, right? We're getting hopefully a little bit more to those times where people are starting to offer that. And now I just heard somebody that said that she was involved in setting up some Google offices, and it's all about nice wide open spaces and relaxed rooms and meditation rooms and you know, mats on the floor in those rooms, so people when they're working the whole day they can actually do that during their lunchtime or during their break. So I love that, but that's after my time, probably not something that I can, you know, that I can enjoy here at work. Back pain can definitely impact your lower back, the lumbar region, and we talk about that a lot. That's definitely one of the main um, symptoms that we feel, right? Lower back pain. Going there, got the spine, spinal cord, whoop. I'm going to move you over. The spine is, of course, so important, but it holds our spinal cord, and that's where all those nerves are going through. You'll notice this cute picture. Some reasons for back pain: a slipped or bulging disc, and trapped nerves, poor posture, obesity, depression. Definitely, again, that mind-body connection immediately just kind of manifests itself in your body somewhere. Arthritis, a big one. I know it's not a fun thing. Strained muscles and ligaments, osteoporosis, osteoarthritis. Of course, we hear that as well, and structural problems. So we're still into this back pain. Here you see a little picture of a slipped disc in your spinal cord. It's just not always necessarily, definitely not always. You have to get surgery. There's definitely things that you can do to modify and to move and to stretch and to open up that spinal cord so that disc has a little bit of room and sometimes even a little room to move and move back in place without immediate surgery. So remember that if that's just an ongoing thing and you're just in the beginning phase of it. And then bone spurs, of course, is a little bit more painful because that's definitely something that will be there indefinite and that causes constant nerve pain and constant muscle pain. Here are some treatments. So I'm going to show you a few things that I'm going to share that are definitely, I love that. These are some regular treatment options for back pain, and the yellow and the green and the purple ones are mine. So the physical therapy, I do somewhat of a physical therapy. I'm not a physical therapist, but I'm a remedial and somatic practitioner, which is in a sense the same. I help people after surgery to get out of a wheelchair and start to stand up and adjust their posture and get leg strength back and feel your muscles, things like that. So the somatic is definitely The remedial and somatic is definitely part of that. Just a sort of a therapy to get out of a sitting mode or out of, laying in bed for a long time. Then spinal decompression is really popular. And maybe you have seen that. You can get one of those beds that kind of tilt backwards and you can stick your feet in it. Very uncomfortable for a lot of people, but it definitely does the job if you do it 10 minutes, 3 times a week, I would say. Definitely does the job. And just because of the weight of your upper body, you're hanging back, it stretches your spine out and you're making a little bit of room. And that's really what we want to do with that compression going on the whole time. And yoga and exercise, definitely, that is, it's the thing that we don't necessarily have to do. It's not necessarily yoga. I always call that. It doesn't have to be intimidating because we only see the pictures that are the Instagram yoga. Everybody's folding, and I don't even do that. I don't do anything crazy, but just a little bit sideways, lateral stretches and a twist, or throwing your knees side to side when you're on the floor, or even when you're in bed. I do that when I wake up and I just pull my heels up and throw my knees to one side, and then I throw my knees to the other side, just to kind of give myself that little lower back twist. I do that a lot. So there's easy stretches, and you can always reach out to me and find that on my YouTube or anywhere you want to take a peek. The easy stretches are definitely very, very healthy. And I always say, just do it in front of the television. If you're already watching, then get off the couch for a little bit if you're able to, and just throw your knees side to side and lie down on the floor. Lying down is always good for us, but if we do it intentionally with a stretch, it's even better. And then there are therapeutic injections that I do not know much about. That's a pain management thing. But when I talk about pain management, the purple part of it, what I do is give people options with, like I do with you today, to give you something that can help. Here's a few things. Now, the first picture here, do not do that, because that's the typical Instagram thing that we see all the time. And nobody folds like this. But if you are sitting down on a chair, then exactly, that feels so good. You just have to scoot up all the way to the front of the chair. You scoot up and then just bend forward all the way with your upper body between your legs. So that way you get a very good hip stretch, and you really can ease up into the small of your back. So if you're able to do so, then just hang forward. Now, if you would flip this picture, then you can see that she's sitting flat on the floor. And if you can do that, and you can sit on a mat, and you can try to stretch your lower back out going towards your feet, that is the same thing. And that feels really good. And what I do is here comes prop number 1. This is what we call a Dynaband, and you can get 3 in a package at Walmart. And I think it might be maybe $14.99, $9.99, $4.94. Everything is $14.99 or $9.99. So here, the Dynaband really helps you stretch. And you just kind of fold it over, and you stick it, if you're sitting on the floor, underneath your foot. And that way you can have this as an extension of your arm. So you just stick it underneath your feet. Your arms are now a little bit longer, and you can stick it underneath your foot or underneath 2 feet. And then you can pull yourself very gently a little bit forward. So it's a very soft pull. Do not do anything crazy with it, but just this very soft stretch. And these bands, these Dynabands, are very soft. So they just kind of give way a little bit. And even more so if I have a single one, right? And they're made not to break. So hopefully they will stay intact. I have used those for years with everybody and everyone. And they haven't, they're not tearing up. They're very strong. And you can also get them in different strengths. So the orange is a light one and gives way a lot. And then you have a gray, for instance, that is really tough. You can hardly stretch it out. So these bands are a great tip. So flip this girl around on her butt, legs forward, and then just this underneath your feet to just gently stretch yourself forward. Is a great stretch for your pelvis and for your lower back. Because as we talked a lot, this lower back part, pelvic area, all connected. And then really you feel your hamstrings, the hamstrings and the glutes and the lower back. It's all connected. And if we don't stretch that out very gently, then we get just tighter and tighter and tighter in the area. So the forward fold, the pelvic tilt is the same way when we are flat on the floor or you have a flat surface. And if you can do that, not necessary, but if you can do that, then you can push your hips up to the ceiling with your heels. So you're just gently pushing yourself up. We call that a pelvic tilt. Really good for your back. Feels wonderful. And that is just one of the home solutions that you can do. So sometimes when you're on the couch, get on the floor and try to do that for yourself if you're able. So the forward fold, we can also do it on the chair. And the twist, like I said, pull in with your knees and go with your knees side to side. I call that a windshield wiper if I'm flat laying down on my back. And if I'm sitting up, all I have to do in a chair is just twist my upper body. So it's really, really important and really healthy to keep that twist in your upper body going. We used to dance the twist, and that was so important that we're actually still doing that. So the twist is really, really good for your back and kind of keeps that flexibility. Now we're coming to my famous tennis ball. And if I have lower back pain, then what I do, and frequently I do, oops, got it on the floor here. Here's my famous tennis ball. I sit on it. And if I sit on it, it kind of like releases the stiffness in the muscles that are tight. So I put it maybe under my right glute or maybe under my left glute, a little bit to the side of the bone. So it's not really necessarily the bone, your sit bone on the ball, but a little bit next to it. So you kind of have to play with that around a little bit. I can even massage the area a little bit with the ball, and you would just roll it out with the ball in your hand. And then I sit on it for a while. So sometimes I sit on it for 30 minutes, and it really relaxes the deeper layers of your muscles, not just the gluteus maximus, but the medius and the piriformis muscle that runs underneath, and it sometimes is really tight. And we talked about that. The piriformis muscle gets so tight because when we feel the lower back or we feel the sciatic nerve acting up, and all these muscles are going into defense mode, and then we only get that whole area to just stiffen up and be really tight. So if it's really tight in that area, you can just punch a little bit. And if you punch that, it's almost the same effect as what we call the myofascia release. It is just a release of the tissues, the connective tissue, and the connective tissue runs through our whole body, keeps everything glued together. It's like a big web that supports your bones and your organs and nerves and blood vessels. So that whole spider web in our body, if we just massage that a little bit, sometimes just over the side of my hip or sometimes the side of my leg, and I keep rolling with that ball on it, it just gently releases that tension. And that's the same with the tennis ball. It does the same thing. So not everybody has, for instance, a foam roller at home, and a foam roller are also doing the same thing. This is a foam roller, and you will not believe it. They usually in the fitness store very expensive, but this one was $5 at the dollar store. $5. Can you believe it? So if you have one of those little rollers, then you use that to roll out all the areas. But now if you have a foam roller, you do that with your body weight. So the only thing that I do for my lower back, we're still talking about that lower back, is I'm going to get off the couch. I'm going to sit on this foam roller with my butt sit on it with my full body weight, my legs straight out forwards. and my arms behind me just to support me. And then I go roll a little bit over this thing. So you just kind of roll with your hips, with your legs and your lower back over this thing. And that is really, really, really relaxing. Don't do it longer than a few minutes because sometimes it's just not healthy to do it too long, especially with your body weight on it. And then you might even harm yourself a little bit more. So what it really does is it replaces the work of the massage therapist. You do it at home. So with the tennis ball or with the foam roller. I love doing that for myself because, did I say for myself? For myself, because it is just relaxing. It's like it's like a home massage. And it just kind of eases up the pain. It takes the tension out. And if I play with the tennis ball, here is my other dollar store ball. That if the tennis ball is a little bit too hard for you, then you can have one of those squeeze balls. And I'm a big dollar store fan because I have always replaced all fitness gear for my patients and my clients with cheaper options. For instance, I used to do fitness classes at home and or work with people and say, well, if you don't have weights at home, grab a water bottle, a small water bottle, so you can use those as a weight. So I love to go to the dollar store and get all these balls and all that stuff to just play with at home. So if you have rather the soft one than the really hard tennis ball, then you use the soft one. And we go to the next one, same thing. Same thing. So the neck pain, very common. A lot of people on the computer the whole day. We have increasing number of symptoms in neck pain because of stress and anxiety. And also, I love this. I didn't know this, but there's a condition called the text neck. And that's when everybody is texting the whole day. And we talk about that too so much. We're all in this tied up position on our computer and we're texting. And a lot of the younger generation has a text neck. I'll have a text neck. So I love that. And tell your kids and grandkids if you see that is what's going to happen to them, all this tightness. And I hear from people around that even people in high school, even kids in high school now are asking to go to the massage therapist because they're all like that. So the neck pain, my biggest thing is with neck pain. So we have to try to relax and release our shoulders. And we can do that in the first place ourselves by posture correction. Just want to roll them back a couple of times a day. Just roll them and roll them and roll them. Right? Want to roll out the whole thing. So sometimes I roll one by one. And sometimes I do it really exaggerated, like really high up to my ears, and then and just with your breath, just really. We did that together in yoga or in Tai Chi. It's really good for your neck and it releases right here your shoulder muscles. That's what we want to do. There's all that tenderness. It can also come from a little bulging or slipping disc, not something in your neck that you can start yourself. You can always stretch, but if it's really a bulging or slip disc, then it takes some higher. Then we need to go to some other care. We cannot do the self-care because that's a very difficult and more dangerous part of our body. Muscle strain, overuse, worn joints, nerve compression. And again, if we have bad posture, then we also get into that nerve compression. Anxiety, like I see that a lot with my patients when I do anxiety work with them. Degenerative disc disease, yay. Just a natural thing of us getting wiser. And then we have cervical spondylosis. I think that's a nerve condition. And I'm not really exactly sure what that all entails, but that is also a worn nerve and spinal condition. Whiplash is when you have an immediate pain by an accident or something that happens a lot, and then you just immediately feel that stress in your neck, osteoarthritis. We talked about that. Here's my common treatments again. So the easy pain management, yoga and exercise. I talked about the shoulder roll. Physical therapy is good, getting a massage, all part of it. Chiropractor, sometimes. Chiropractor, great, if you have a good chiropractor around. Now we go again to the rollga balls or to this soft ball. So I'm not using, in my neck, I'm not using a big ball, a tennis ball, but I'm using a really soft one. Or the rollga balls look like this. There's a little ball and a big ball in this little bag. They're $5 on the website, and they're both kind of soft material. This one is really soft. This is a little harder, but it feels good. I give this as gifts to my patients and my clients to roll out, and you can do that the whole time with your neck and with a rollga ball. And if you want this option from the dollar store, that absolutely works. So you can have that whole tight area. Again, just going into that fascia release where you feel that you can massage that yourself. Put a little pressure and just kind of massage it out. You can also do that with your hands and fingers. This is a smaller one. I'll tell you in a minute what that is for. You can also do that with your fingers. I put 2 fingers in the back of my neck and my thumb in the front, and I'm going to just really go all the way up. I'm really putting some pressure there and going all the way down to just give myself a massage. I don't have anybody around who would do it for me all the time, so you have to do it yourself. And it feels so good. And talking about the chi release, now if I do that, I immediately feel the whole tingling feeling over my spine and over my body, all the way in my hands. I love that feeling. Absolutely love it. So you can do a little massage. You can use the rollga balls, and you can do side stretches. So this is one of the major things, just getting up and pulling your head sideways. And just take a nice deep breath here and relax your shoulder. And we have to pay attention to this shoulder. This is not coming up. So this one, you can almost even push down a little bit. So you feel that huge stretch in your sternocleidomastoid muscle in your neck, all the way over your shoulders. So I'm actually using my hands, but I have to keep my forehead and my nose and my chin in the mirror. And I'm just putting a little bit more pressure, and then 2 or 3 nice deep breath. Very relaxing. And then take it back up. And one I always do is keep your shoulders open, nice and wide open. Remember how I always say, keep your heart up to the sky and open up with the shoulders for good posture. Relax the shoulder blades in the back pockets of your pants behind you. And then if you're standing tall, you can drop your chin on your chest. A lot of chins. So I make a lot of chins here, and I can rub a little bit with my chin from right to left. I'm rubbing literally my chin over my chest from right to left. Very careful. You feel it in the back of your neck. It really stretches out very well in the back of your neck. And now for the same reasons as we don't want to hurt that nervous system in the back of our neck, really starting right there on the top. What I do not want to do and do not ever advise is to throw your head back. That was in the jazz days. And then we don't do that anymore because that's just so much, so much sensitive tissue there and nerves. And so I don't want you to hurt yourself at all. Don't go back with your neck, with your chin up. Don't go back with your head. But your head is 11 pounds to 13 pounds. So if we drop it down and we fully relax, then I can really feel a good stretch in the back of my neck. And I want to pay attention to breathing because that's how we relax. You're looking good. Headache. 8 to 10 adults occasionally experience headache tensions. And there's a large number of migraines that people, migraine, oh, awful, awful, awful. I had it once or twice. You have to lay down in your dark room and just nothing can be on. It's a terrible condition. There's different um, how would you say that? The migraines, it's not my diagnosis, different diagnosis for migraines. So that's not really where I want to go. But for a regular headache, and usually, honestly, we didn't drink enough water. But there are some things that you can do that you can do at home. We have untreated neck pain, of course, that ultimately can go all the way up, right? So that's why we have headache. We can have a lot of stress that just constantly thinking, 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 not being able to let go. Anxiety that has a lot to do with it. Why at some point it just kind of explodes. You have such a bad headache. We have poor diet habits that definitely has to do with our food sometimes. That is not my specialty, but a lot about that. There's a lot of great presenters on My Health Angel about these diet choices that we can do for healthy head, so no headache. Nerve damage, of course, that has to do with it. A concussion, not good. Prescription drugs sometimes are prescribed but have side effects. So chiropractors sometimes I do not really go to the chiropractor for a headache, but sometimes it has to do with my spinal compression, or rather so I want to decompress, and it immediately loosens up my headache. We have physical therapy for that, but that is again a little bit more of a posture therapy. Standing up straight and being tall and opening up helps a lot with it. Good breathing and yoga and exercise help a lot with it. Some people go for acupuncture or interventional pain management, a little more medical approach than my home approach. Here's my home approach. Meditation definitely helps with headaches. It really helps because you're just focusing, maybe listening to a guided meditation or listening to music. You just want to relax your brain. You just want to, it's not really that we're not thinking during meditation. We want to be able to let go of all the thought process and just completely relax. It has solved little headaches that are stress or anxiety related for me many times just to go into meditation. A great thing that we can do for ourselves is if we're on the floor and you're able to lay on the floor or lay flat, then you have to throw your legs up the wall. So you're on your back, flat on the floor, but my legs, I'm going to walk my legs all the way on the wall. So now, belly up, my back's on the floor, but my legs are on to the wall, and I'm leaning with my legs against the wall. And what it does is if your legs are up and they're just leaning against the wall because it's comfortable, if your legs up in the air, the weight of your legs will just fall back into your pelvic area and into the spine, the lumbar part of the spine. And they will ease so that if you have that natural spinal curve, this will ease it a little flat on the floor. And that way you just get a nice little spinal decompression there. And that really helps with headache because now it all opens up. Your breathing, your chi, as we say, can freely flow. And because the chi can freely flow, we are able to very easily let go of the headache. So that helps. A lot of people do a down dog. The lower one is a picture of the down dog, a yoga pose. You might not be able to do that. But what it does with yoga poses, if you are able to do yoga, and some of you are, if you are able to do yoga poses, then all the poses that are upside down, what we call the inverted poses, they help with the headache because your head is lower than your heart. It's as simple as that. Your head is lower than your heart. So it will kind of take the pressure or kind of ease up a little bit. It's a very good stretch. It's a very good body stretch. It gets chi flowing, but it will ease up your headache a little bit. So for some reason, all the inverted poses are really good. And then, of course, we have hydration. You already know that. Sometimes we just need to drink water. Now here we go to our fun arthritis, number 4, as well. More than 54 million adults have arthritis, a painful condition. I have it in my shoulder and in my right hand. And if the symptoms progress, it just gets more difficult. It's painful. I know it's painful. I have to give you a couple of really Elian homemade tips that help me so much with the arthritis pain. We have the osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis. I have described this a little bit here. Osteoarthritis occurs when the cartilage of your joints gets worn down. And then we have this tissue deterioration again. Bone is changing. Rheumatoid arthritis occurs when the membrane becomes inflamed. And that is really causing a lot of pain. And I know a lot of us are dealing with that. Again, I really like the pain management and the yoga and exercise. Can you believe that for arthritis, a lot of people will say, don't do anything, you got to be careful. The opposite is true. We have to keep moving. We have to keep exercising. If you are able to, try to. The minimum what you can do for yourself is 30 minutes a day of a good walk, an intentional walk. Swimming is excellent. Being in the water is excellent for arthritis. And some yoga poses are really good. You don't have to go crazy. But again, the everyday stretches, side to side, neck stretches, hanging forward, opening back, just a little bit of that roll with your upper body, that standing cat and cow pose where you just roll in and then you lift your heart up to the sky and you bend back. Very simple and very controllable, right? You want to just be careful, but it wants to be effective. Those things are really good for you, and I'm going to give you my amazing solution. So no brands because they should have given me money for it, but I started taking a lot of collagen years ago, collagen powder. And collagen powder is amazing to help with arthritis pain and with joint pain. Collagen powder. You can get it in the store at CVS, Walmart has it sometimes. You can order it online. If you want to really know what I use some very good brands, very effective brands. Please reach out to me. But if you can find collagen powder, and what it does, I can throw it in my coffee in the morning and it completely dissolves. And I won't even taste it. It doesn't even have a taste. So it just really functions as sort of a glue, again, to keep your body just kind of like flowing and not really tighten up and not really get stressed out in certain areas. So it gives you this overhaul of soft glue. I cannot find another name for it, for your tissues, bones, joints, and tendons, so that it all loosens up a little bit. It helps me really with the pain. Sometimes if I don't take it, if I run out and I just kind of don't pay attention to it, then I can feel after 3 days that the pain is coming back. And from the bottom of my heart, this is so helpful. And then another thing that I take is hyaluronic acid. This is the first time that I really was able to pronounce that. Hyaluronic acid. You can get that at GNC as well, or other vitamins or health food stores. And that is in pill form. And that helps with joint and arthritis pain as well. Now, here's a couple of the fun things. The prayer hands. If you put your hands together, you have to glue them together. Try to get the palms together and touch too. Then what you're going to do with the prayer hands is you're going to lower, you're going to feel your nerve system. You start feeling your nervous system. Press them together, but lower the hands, but keep pressing them together. Now what it does, it starts really extending the hand right here through the wrist and starts activating that whole nerve system. You can feel that. And somehow that keeps our fingers and our hands alive and get the juices flowing. The Rolga ball squeeze, your dollar store or your big one, is really good, but on a daily basis, I use the small one because it's really easy to handle. So this is a little bit softer, very good, of course. Constantly move with your hands. And this one is very little, and I play with it. And I use all my fingers, especially for my right hand. So this one is, for instance, in my car. So every time I have a little second with my right hand, I just kind of squeeze around. I know, shouldn't have said that. 2 hands on the wheel, Elian. Really? Sometimes I, right? So it's really good to squeeze something. And dollar store, go to the dollar store and get those toys that you can see. Even, this is great, even dog toys. You know how you have those soft bones that the dogs like? Those toys are great for you to use with your hands. The foot exercises with a towel are great. So you can see here in the picture, I'm picking up with my toes, I'm picking up the towel. With my right foot, with my toes, I'm trying to pick it up off the floor. And then I just move my whole foot to my left and drop the towel. Then my left foot has to pick up the towel with my toes. And I get that toe exercise. And again, that neuro activation. And I'm going to bring the towel to the right. So I play with it even 5, 6 times, really feeling that your feet are getting that workout. So good, hands and feet. Keep activating the very, very far part of our extremities, right? Because that's what we need to activate. And then heel raises or ankle raises are great. You can see in the picture on the bottom that what she does is she's using a towel or that stretchy band to put underneath your feet and just get your feet to flex. And the same as with our hands, with our prayer hands. We get that flex, we bring the hands down, we get that flex in our elbows. No, in our wrist. That's our wrist. Oh, I feel like I talk a lot. What time is it? All right, here we go. Nerve damage, last one. Very difficult to bend, walk, or even talk. We have a lot of those varieties of nerve damage, but it's actually all the same as what I talked about. The nerve damage is common for everybody and it feels horrible, but I talk a lot about the sciatic, and I already talked about that because it is related to that lower back pain. It's related to the leg pain because it goes straight down our legs. You feel pain, you feel tingling, you feel weakness, lightheaded sometimes, paralysis. Here is that wonderful picture of the sciatica on the left side. It's maybe on your right, it's white, so no problems there. On the red side, it's inflamed. And when it's inflamed, that can also has to do with poor posture. It has to do with too much sitting. It has to do with our hip flexors, the muscles in the front that are getting really tight, and they're also putting pressure on that nerve system. So basically the chi, the energy, the life energy cannot freely flow. Same here that we're talking about, all the treatments. And my last one here, I'm going to give this to you again when you're sitting, just like that forward bend that we talked about. I talked about sitting on the tennis ball or your softer ball or the one in the middle. So sitting on it really helps that piriformis muscle, and that muscle cramps up and gets tight when we have sciatic pain. Now, the figure 4 is the one that you see the lady here on the chair. So the figure 4 on the floor is the first lady. She has her foot crossed by her knee and then pulls the bottom leg towards her. Now, the same thing you can do when you're sitting in a chair. If you're able at all to get your leg to cross over your upper leg, then you bend to it. You feel a tremendous stretch in your hip area. Big, big, big. It's not an easy thing to do, but you can immediately feel it. And the lady on the bottom here, just like I said before, is sitting with her bottoms on her foam roller and just kind of like roll it out. It feels so good, and get the tension out of the muscle. So that whole release of the fascia, that whole tension release is getting a lot better when we keep rolling and when we keep moving. The laying hip twist I talked about. Pull your hips, pull your knees sideways. Let your knees just fall side to side, or just hold them for a couple of breaths on the right, or hold them for a couple of breaths on the left. And sometimes you can do the same thing when you're sitting down, but then let your upper body move. Just hold for a couple of breaths, if you will, and hold for a couple of breaths, if you will. I feel I talked so much. Let me see if we have
Yeah, that was
some
amazing. They
blah,
really
blah,
good
yeah.
questions. Yeah. So
Wow.
can you see the chat? Do you see it in your
I'm
chat?
going into the chat right
Okay.
now. I just have to get rid of my. Oh, yeah, collagen pills. Yes, absolutely. 3 joint surgeries and suffer with did physical therapy for all 3. Yvonne. Hopefully you have a little bit of help here, Yvonne, with the little home things that maybe you can do to release some of the tension. Osteoarthritis, awful sometimes, got less pain. Gout is difficult. Yes, it's awful pain. The same thing here. The same things apply for gout. Very tender and very easy stretching, if that helps a little bit. Lots of squeezing, and lots of getting that nervous system going, and lots of keeping your spine from being in that compression mode. So sorry that you have that gout. That's painful. I have heard about that, and I have a friend that has that. Can you lay on the bed? Yes. Hang your head down. Would that help with the headache? Some people say that. That is definitely a thing that people say for headache. I don't like it because I do not like to be with my head backwards below my body. A lot of people are not comfortable in that position. And again, with the neck bending in the back, I'm not a big fan anymore. I'm just because that's such a tender area. I'm just not a fan of that anymore. But if that feels really good for you, then please do so. Yes. No, you cannot get on your knees. You don't want to do that. Absolutely. Pills, yes, 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 yes. I said powder form and collagen because powder just in my water bottle, in my coffee, I take a big scoop a day. But definitely, if you're not taking too many pills already, that's my reason I take supplements. So I don't want to take like so many supplements. That's why I did the powder form. Is Move Free tablet a good? Not familiar with Move Free tablets. Must be something that might be good. I need to look at that Move Free tablet. I will look at that before I get out of bed every morning and stretch my whole body. The best thing that we can do for ourselves. Yes, the biggest stretch in the world all the time, but especially when you're getting out of bed. Yay! So you notice you're no longer stiff. Yes! Awesome, awesome, awesome. A towel exercise, absolutely. With neuropathy, the same thing. Constant nerve damage and constant nerve irritation and pain from your whole body to your feet. Use the towel, use the Dynaband. Try to do your foot movements, sometimes standing up and down with the heel raises. It might get a little bit better because they say as well, yoga is really good for neuropathy as well. And and rolling over something. I forgot my last toy with your foot. I got all those toys. So when you're sitting down and you can roll your foot over that roller, neuropathy, arthritis. Yes. What are potential causes of pain at the shoulder blade? Any recommended exercise? Pain at the shoulder blade. It really in the back of your shoulder blade. my my husband just had it the other day. Pull the muscle. Playing golf. Not smart. Just a pulled muscle. Sometimes, if you have a pulled muscle, there's nothing that you can do. You don't have to go run to the doctor. You just have to rest. We really have to rest. Just like I do too much sometimes, I have to rest and do sometimes a week of vacation, nothing when it comes to exercise. And that might happen if you have pain at the shoulder blade. And of course, I'm not really sure. There might be a lot of other things. If you have your little ball, toy time, I put that between my shoulder blades and I go with that ball. Dollar store, I go with that ball between my shoulders. My hair against the wall. And I push my body against the wall, and the ball is between my shoulders, and I'm rolling it up. Smaller ball, tennis ball, however you would like to play with it, try to play with it. And I did a good job for the dollar store, didn't I, today?
Yeah. And Rose, I see you have your hand up. So if you want to unmute, go ahead.
I cannot get on the floor, get down on the floor.
Yes.
But are there yoga exercises that I can do standing up? I do have a tendency to get dizzy and wobbly, but you know, I have to be careful, but I need to do something.
Yes, honey, absolutely. You can do the yoga stretches. Even if you're in bed, you can do one of those, a few of those things for your back and for your shoulders. If you're laying down, and even if you're in bed, you can pull your heels maybe up a little bit and throw your knees from side to side. And what you can also do is open your hands over your mattress, over your pillow, and really go back to stretch your shoulders and your upper back and between the shoulder blades, right? So even when you're laying down, if you're getting up, Rose, hold on to something. I never work with my patients without holding on to a chair, right? I'm holding on to my chair, and then you can just kind of go sideways, bending, going back, and going towards the chair, leaning forwards. Do not, just make sure that you always hold on to something. Do not do it. Don't do this in the shower, right?
Oh,
Does that make a little bit of sense, honey? Yeah?
yeah, it does. And because of 2 knee surgeries, they tell me I can't get on my knees anymore.
No.
And I've fallen a couple of times, but it's tough to get up. So I have to find ways to do it otherwise. So I appreciate this. This is very helpful.
You gave me a great idea. In a new year, I will do a session on easy balance exercises so that we're fall proof and
Right.
we're not going to fall over. So those are great. Everything which you can do at home, holding on to the kitchen counter, holding on to the tables or the chairs, and trying to work a little bit into that balance, that posture, so that you are not afraid of falling over, and then still can move your upper body just to get that little hip twist in there, right? Shake it.
Yes.
Shake
Yeah.
it.
Thank you so
Yeah.
very much, Elian.
You're so welcome, honey. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So Positive Pat has a question. What are your recommendations for knee pain? She can barely walk. She has problems with the knee.
There is none, because it's just such an annoying, amazing, painful, annoying joint. And so there is not really anything, except for that so many people get knee surgery, and sometimes it's very positive because they can do more afterwards, and I cannot make any judgment on that, if you should or should not. But because it's a joint, we lose so many we have so many knee problems because the same thing happens. We lose our balance. We get more afraid of walking long distance or doing a lot standing up. And because of that, because of our fear, we're just using our muscles less, and we're doing the things that we need to do less. So knee pain, for instance, has a lot to do with bad posture. That comes at some point. It has a lot to do with us not using the inner thigh muscles. In Texas, we say inner thigh, inner thigh.
Well, Positive Pat, go ahead. Positive Pat had that question and she has her hand up. So go ahead, Pat. Go ahead.
The collagen that you recommend, I know one place they have 2 different injections that they do. One is collagen and one is the steroid. I don't really want any of that. I don't want any surgery. Does the collagen that you recommend, does that help with the joint pain?
Yes, ma'am, it helps me. So it helps me tremendous. And I have recommended to many of my patients and clients that have good results with it. I cannot promise anything, of course. This is just all personal information that I'm sharing with you. But if you're doing a little bit of a spoon, or what is it, one of those scoopful of collagen powder in your drink or your coffee or in anything, your shake, protein shake, And it is a form of protein, right? It is just very, very good for your body. And they're having more and more and more information coming out about collagen. But if you do not want to take it in pill form and definitely not want to do it in a shot, just try maybe a scoop a day.
Yeah.
At the pharmacy or, at the pharmacy store. Yeah. My CVS has.
Yeah, Amazon, they all, they're all good, the collagen. And Maxim, go ahead.
Yeah, what do you recommend for what do you recommend for wrist pain or something, particularly when you type too much or you're always on computer?
Yeah, the one of those problems with the elbows, right? That is just really a problem that we have been on the computer, the tennis elbow all the time. It has to do with the nerve system here. These stretches that I just did, I do a lot for the hands. So your prayer hands, squeezing it together. You have a dollar bill in between, imagine, and you just don't drop it, right? When you bring your hands towards your belly. Anything that you do for yourself, see my hand bends really crazy backwards, but if you get that flexibility in your fingers, in your hands, if you keep that moving, that helps a lot. And this whole squeezing thing that I do all the time, because the problem is with paying, with writing a lot, with being on the computer typing a lot, is that this just gets overworked. It just gets overworked, and we have to keep it moving. And sometimes that helps a little bit to exercise it. And sometimes it helps just to stretch it softly and get a good stretch going. In Tai Chi, we do the circles. Remember, we throw our hands and we do these circles. All right.